Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today at this livecast, the weekly livecast that we're broadcasting from the Coaching Connection Facebook group. And today I'm so excited to have Jor'El Mitchell with us. Jor'El and I, we met a few weeks ago, and it was incredible. When we met, we had so much in common, and I just felt like I gotta talk to this guy and learn more from him and learn about all the interesting things that he does. And today he's honoring us actually with his presence, and he will be talking today to us about CyberCelebrity branding. And I can't wait to learn more about it. So Jor'El, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what is it that you do?
Hello, first of all, I want to welcome everybody that's watching us on the live stream, everyone that's currently with us inside this Zoom room as well. And I'm just super excited to have this opportunity to share my vision, my passion with you all. And I'm hoping that we're going to have an amazing, fun, next hour and a half together, really just looking at how we can take you all to the next level. So who am I? So I go by Jor'El, the global, and just for those of you that are wondering, yes, I am beamed in from planet Krypton, because for those of you that don't know, Jor'El is actually the father of Superman. There's a very interesting way that I got my name, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So I was meant to be called Nathan. Can you believe that, right? That was what my name was meant to be. And what happened was that literally 3 days before I was born, my cousin was born. And he took my name. So they named my cousin Nathan. And my mum had this name playing around in her mind. Should she give it to me? Should she not? And I think this is a great example of when the universe decides, you just sometimes have to just go with it. So she had no other choice but to name me Jor'El. And that's how I came to be named Jor'El. So some people wonder, is that his real name or is it a pseudonym? But actually, no, if you check the birth records or whatever, that is my name. But in terms of what I do, I'm a global business and branding strategist, but most importantly, what I really love is I'm a do what you love activist. And I'm all about helping people to stand for their transformation. I believe that we are all born, and whatever you connect with, whether it's God, the universe, whatever you believe in, and however you thought that we came to be, there is something that's planted deep within us, and that's what I refer to as our calling. Okay. Now, what do I mean by the term calling? I mean, who are the people that you've been called to serve? Okay. So our calling, it's almost like a little seed that germinates right in the center of our being, in our essence. And then we have this wonderful thing. We go on this wonderful journey called life, don't we? And life gives us some highs, it gives us some lows. We have pain points. We get sometimes dragged through the hedge backwards. And all of this for me is what I call, it's almost like the nurturing that seed needs. Yeah, it's just like, if you're growing a plant, you give it some water, you might give it some plant food, you give it some sunshine. Well, life does exactly the same thing in terms of germinating our calling. And what I, as a do what you love activist, does is help people to honor that story, to honor that past, to honor that life experience, and then to think about, who has this equipped me to help? Who in the world could I help avoid falling into some of those pitfalls that I fell into? Because ultimately, if we think about it, we have this infinite process, or we have time, yeah? And sometimes we think there's a cap on it, but time is really there. It's very flexible. We have the ability to use it as we choose. And so if there's a way that we can condense and enable someone to get from A to Z in a quicker period of time, then that's something of value. And oftentimes, because we've been on our life experiences, and oftentimes because it's been difficult and it's been hard, we like to leave the past in the past. We don't want to revisit it. We almost like start new chapters. But one of the things that I always find is that regardless of what's happened in the past, it's always knocking on your door, isn't it? It's always reminding you, it always shows up, when you want to step into a new version of yourself, trying to tell you that you can't do this, trying to cause you to procrastinate because of what's happened in the past. So one of the great ways that I have found to remove that is by going back to the past and taking that energy that's there and transforming it Because as we know, energy can never be destroyed, but it can be transformed. And if we're able to take that and we're able to transform it into something that we can use for good, maybe that may look like a coaching program where you show people how you got from A to Z, and now you can show them how you condensed it in a shorter time. It may be something that you want to start on a YouTube channel where you just want to start sharing with other people, you know, inspiring other people. It might come up through your posts. But once you transform that energy and you honor it and realize that it was just there to germinate that calling inside you, and you discover who you've been called to serve, then it no longer needs to knock on your door anymore, reminding you of what a failure you thought you were. It now becomes something which catapults you into a destiny that has the ability to transform other people's lives. And that's what I see myself as the catalyst for doing, and why I refer to myself as the do what you love activist, and how my entire program, CyberCelebrity Branding, came into being. So I think maybe this would be a good time for me to share exactly what
Yeah,
CyberCelebrity Branding is.
I love the sound of it because this is something that I also often emphasize. You really need to take your past life into your coaching or whatever you choose to do as an entrepreneur. There is no point in running away from it. And there are so many things that we can use and take forward and that make us unique and incredible. So yeah, tell us a bit more about what exactly is CyberCelebrity Branding and why is this a thing?
Yes. Okay. So this is my baby. This is what was birthed out of my life experience. Okay. And maybe that's probably, if I share with you what my life experience is, my journey, my story, it may actually give you some insight into how you can turn your story into, you know, what they say, the message, right? So I was destined for the stage. I was going to be a performer. I love to perform. I love to do musical theater. I love to do anything that was physical, dance. In fact, I thought I was going to be the next Usher. I don't know if you know that, but he's like a prolific performer when I was around. But at the age of around 14, I had a life-changing accident, which just meant that I couldn't pursue that path anymore. So if you could imagine, I'm standing on the edge of this white floor and I'm in the corner of it, and I'm just finished a coaching session because I used to coach gymnastics at the time. And I'm just so on a buzz and on a high from the work that we've been doing. I can hear the music blaring in the background and I could just feel the enthusiasm that was in the air. And so I decided that this is going to be the moment where I'm going to do this aerodynamic move that I've never done before. So there I am, standing in a corner. All fear is, I cast away all fear and I go to do that move. And what so happened was, as I took off in the air, I turned one somersault and I went to turn the other somersault and chickened out and landed straight on my head and neck. And in that moment, I had almost like a temporary paralysis. And I was filled with the fear and the dread of, like, you know, would I even get up and be able to walk again? And one of the life lessons that I took from that is about commitment, right? Because oftentimes we step out to do things and then we go and we get to the point where we're about to make that thing happen and then we don't commit. And sometimes when you chicken out from moving forward on that thing that you know within your being that you're meant to do, it can end up causing you a world of pain. So I took away that when you go to commit, you just got to be all out, or you're half-hearted and it could cause a mishap in life. So there I am, not knowing what I'm going to do now, because the doctor's now told me that I can't, you know, perform. He's told me now it's time for me to look for a plan B. I'm in cast, so I've got a cast from my hip all the way down to my leg. Someone that was really active, that was always doing something, always moving, suddenly being bedridden and being told that that cast would have to be there for 18 months. You can imagine what happens in that point, right? What happens? We start doubting ourselves. We get depressed. You know, woe is me. That everything that you could imagine, it descended on me at that time. And the only thing that I could think to do of was bury my head in my books and do really well at my education, which culminated in me becoming an engineer. And as an engineer, I was, you know, being paid really handsomely. You know, I walk around London because I'm from the UK actually. And I can see all of these landmarks that I've contributed to, like rail stations and bridges and all of that good stuff. But at the same time, while I was doing and making this physical impact in the landscape, as it were, I realized that I wasn't being true to who I was. There was just something that wasn't fulfilled within me. I had this desire to perform and to, you know, be on stage, but for some reason, I just didn't feel that I could do it anymore, and I just didn't know what my way forward is. Now, I'm a strong believer, and some of you may agree with me, and you can let me know in the chat, you know, what your thoughts on this is. But there's a saying that when a student is ready, so a teacher will arise, right? So I remember having this conversation with one of my colleagues in my workplace, and she said to me, she asked me, why was I an engineer? She told me that there was something about me that just stood out from all the other engineers. It almost felt like I was there, but I was meant to be doing something else. I don't know if it was because I was dressing a bit more flamboyantly or the way that I look, but that was her take on it. And in that moment, something hit me. I felt this pain that cramped me right in the depths of my stomach. And I found myself sharing with her something that I had never shared with anybody before. And I told her the story about the accident and what I was meant to be doing. And she said to me that I've got to find my creative outlet either way. I've got to find a way to let that out. And so I then began to look at, you know, what could I potentially do? I knew the internet had just launched. It was something that was really, really powerful. I could see people's lives being transformed. You probably see all the time, people sharing messages, you know, people talking about how they've, you know, these influencers that are popping up. And my question was, how have they done it and can I do the same? And I decided that I was going to try. So I remember posting my very first post on Instagram, almost shaking, scared to my core, because, you know, when you're putting yourself out there, it's a scary thing. You know, when you've got to share your message with someone, especially where you're digging into your past and the pains that you've buried and left behind, it's no easy feat. But I remember posting that very first message, and it started to grow. Like people started to follow me. I started to post more. And then before I knew it, I went from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 followers on Instagram. And it was just me sharing aspects of my life story. But what was also amazing was that people started to approach me and give me opportunities. Fancy that, right? Putting yourself out there and suddenly opportunities come your way. Who would have thought it, right? So I began to get asked to host, you know, and present. I began to get asked to be on like TV programs and podcasts and all of that good stuff. And it just started to transpire that people wanted to know, how did I build up my following? And that then led me into sharing with people the concept of branding. You know, how do you get a bold message out there? How do you begin to attract your tribe? How do you begin to package what you've got going on into a package that's attractive, that people actually want to buy? And I began to help people to start standing out and being bold, being courageous, being confident, and going for what they wanted in life. And as a result, and doing that for a while and getting people results, I began to realize something. And this is the important thing that I want all of you to listen to, if anything, from this story. I realized that whenever I had a problem or I had a solution and I Googled it, don't we all Google, right? I'm sure as soon as you think of something, Google's the first thing that you go to. So I would Google it, and it wouldn't be the celebrities of old, you know, the Beyoncés or the Ellen DeGenereses or the Oprahs that were popping up. But instead, it was real life people with real life solutions to real life problems, people like you and I. These were the people that were popping up and making a difference in the world. And then it dawned on me that actually we're in an age where there's a new celebrity that's coming to the globe. And this celebrity is the cyber celebrity. People like you and I, those that I will say again, have real life solutions to real life problems. We are the movers and the shakers. And I suddenly realized that the gatekeepers that had kept us back for so long, let's think about branding beforehand or getting your message out there before the internet, right? What would we have to do? We'd have to find a space in the newspaper, right? We'd have to try and sweet talk our way onto some kind of live circuit and get onto some kind of interview, right? And at every hurdle, it would require large sums of money, and it would be about negotiating with a gatekeeper who deemed whether or not you are beautiful enough, whether or not they decide that your message is important enough. And as a result, we ended up with a lot of mediocrity in that field, okay? Because it was no longer about changing lives, it was about how much money could be made off that particular message. But now we're in an age where the gatekeepers have been removed. And this has emerged where we have the new celebrity in the globe, the cyber celebrity. And so I believe that each and every single one of us on this call right now has the potential to be one, because we have passions, we have talents, and we have skills. We have a unique life story. And when we package that all up and we understand a clear and simple sales process to get our message out there using tools that are available to us now, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, which we can use for free, that's where we are able to really transform our lives. And that's where cyber celebrity branding and how it was born, because it's people like you and I that I'm here to celebrate. And it's not about, you know, having millions of followers or, you know, being the most famous person. That was what celebrity stood for back in the day. But with the birth of the new celebrity, the cyber celebrity, it's all about having a story. It's all about packaging that into something that you can use to transform lives. And it's then just having the mission and the vision to help as many people that you've been called to serve as you can. And so that's what led and what cyber celebrity branding is all about.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing, Jor'El. Most of us here, we are coaches, and those who are also listening on Facebook probably are also coaches. So tell us, why is cyber celebrity branding important or should be interesting for a coach?
Fantastic, wonderful question. So if we're coaching, we have the ability to make real difference, right? I think everyone here, when you got into coaching, yep, money's great and I love money, right? Because it enables you to fill your storehouse. But I always talk about money being the balance to the give and receive part of any relationship, right? If you're just coaching and you're not making any money, then you're just giving. And after a while, it's going to drain from your storehouse. And it's going to mean that you end up in a position where you're either not able to give anymore because you need to go somewhere else where you can actually make some money to keep the roof over your head and to keep the bills paid. And it's going to move you away from your calling, right? So money is important. But what I think all of us stepped into this game for was to make a difference, to create and transform people's lives. So as a coach, we want to be able to do that for as many of our tribe as possible. The more people you can touch with your message, the more people you can motivate to make a change, a positive change in this world, I believe the world would be a better place. The more happier people we have in this world, and this is one of my missions, my visions, is the more happier people who are living more fulfilled lives will equal the world being a better place. And it will mean that we will see a rapid decline in some of these catastrophic things that we see happening inside the world, where people are just not being kind to one another. And that's spawned from something, right? That's spawned from pain, right? So if we can get rid of people's pain, we make the world a better place. So what cyber celebrity branding does is it enables you as a coach to be able to package something up, to be able to ensure that you get paid a good price point for that package. And it also ensures you that you are able to touch as many people's lives with that message as possible, okay? And doing it in a way where you can now effectively make good change inside people's lives. So that's what cyber celebrity branding is designed to do. Now, let me tell you what makes it very unique. Okay, so typically people think branding is all about logos, fonts, pretty pictures, and making something look good. And there's an element to that, right? There is a need for that, okay? Because it's a bit like packaging. But for me, what's more important than all of that, okay, is actually being able to connect your message to someone's life and get them to do the work. Because let me tell you, if you've got someone that can stand up and say, Doreen, I can see Doreen there, or Sherry, if I can see, or Lucy, or Arnie, if you've got someone that can say, Doreen made a change in my life, that will beat any logo, any pretty picture, any font, or anything of that sort a million times over. Okay, so branding, yes, is needed, but the reality of it is understanding how you can package your business up and get people to actually use your product or service and to make a difference inside their lives. Okay, now let me talk about a bit about money, because I think it's very important that we understand them and my viewpoint on money. Because oftentimes I know there's a number of things that keep people back, and some of you may recognize this in yourself when I explain it. So first of all, people procrastinate about getting started because they're looking at things like, oh, what colors am I going to have? Or what's my logo going to look like? Or what's my website going to look like? And they go and try and find a web designer who then takes 6 months to build this website that doesn't even bring them any leads, because it's just a beautiful thing that floats on the internet, but it's not really having engagement and conversations with them. And another thing that people do, and I'm almost convinced that it's out of not being able to validate what it is that they have to offer. Now, let me talk about validation. When you create a program or you create something, in order to validate it, you need to know that it's of value, that someone's going to pay you what you are worth for this thing. Now, if you're not able to get clients onto it, you're not able to get that validation where you know that your time is worth value. You know, you start off at 2K, and we all hear that 2K mark, don't we, in the coaching realm? But what happens is we go out and we create this program for 2K, but because we don't know the systems, like what is the sales process? You know, how do I engage someone in a conversation and speak to them in a way that moves them to make a change in their own life? It's not about buying your program, it's about making a change in their own lives. Because we don't have these processes in place, what do? The first thing we do, oh, I can't charge 2K, so let's drop it, let's cut it half price, let's go to 1K. Oh, no, people aren't buying it for 1K, okay, let's go to 500. Oh, no, people ain't buying it for 500, so let's go to, okay, I'm gonna do it for like 150, and until I get my feet going, and you know, until I build up my experience in the field, and then I will look at putting my prices up. The amount of times I hear that, if I had a penny for every time I heard that, I would be a multi-billionaire by now. But the reason why I shared this with you is because the reason why you need to charge what you are worth right now, not thinking about once I get my feet wet or in the future, the reason why you have to charge it right now is because you have to stand for the transformation in your clients' lives, even when they are not willing to make a stance for themselves. Let me say that again. As a coach, we have to stand for the transformation in our potential client's life, even when they're scared to stand for their own transformation, right? That may be something that you want to write down, because I think that's at the heart of coaching. Now, when someone invests, let's say, you know the transformation you can make in their life, and you charge, let's say, £100 or $100 for it. Let me tell you what typically happens. They go on to do what I call shelf development. They put it on the shelf, or they say, yeah, I'm coming to your sessions, or I'm going to turn up to your lives, or however you're delivering your program, and you never see them again. Why? Because other priorities take place. And do we know why that is? It's because they never put their money where their mouth is. If £100 or $100 isn't enough money which makes them motivated to actually work at getting this transformation, we're going to get shiny object syndrome. Every shiny thing that they see, they're going to run to it. Oh, I'll do that for $50, or I'll do that for $100, I'll do this. And how many things do people accumulate? You probably got some courses that you know, the classic thing is, you know, when you're asked to give your name and email address and it says you're going to get this freebie, How many of you actually check that freebie out? I mean, I know some of you do, but I know I've got so many of those freebies just sitting there and I haven't even opened the email. And that's because it hasn't made me put my money where my mouth is and made me make it a priority. And this is why it's really important that you have to charge what you are worth and you have to stand by that, because you need your clients to have skin in the game. Write it down. You need your clients to have skin in the game in order for them to make the transformation in their lives. So let's just cut what I'm going to say, the BS. Selling doesn't need to be icky because selling is not about you. Once we understand that selling comes from a place of serving, you're serving that person, you're putting them in the best shape possible to make that transformation in their lives, then we begin to realize why serving and selling is so important. In fact, I'm on a mission. I don't know if any of you have seen my posts or whatever, but I want to deconstruct this term sales, right? Yeah, I can see people saying some need more than skin in the game, right? So if they need more than skin in the game, you charge them twice as much. There's a reason, okay? And energy flows in many different ways, but there's a reason why there's the energy and in the currency of money, and why this entire system has people doing crazy things for the love of money, because the programming that we've been programmed from a very young age, every TV program we look at, every piece of advertising we look at, the requirements is you need to have some kind of money to get that thing that you want. The latest iPhone, you need to have money to get that. You know, the latest outfit, you need to have money to get that. Money has been placed at the epicenter of our thinking, right? So if you want someone to have more than skin in the game, you need to be charging them at a price which makes that happen, because that saying, put your money where your mouth is just looking and giving a nod to the fact that people need to have investment in what they're doing. They have to invest. And you know what the funny thing is, and I want to talk about this right now because it's just coming to me. As coaches, we often think, because we seem to think it's the easiest thing to do, okay? For those of us that have got started, for some people, it's like, oh, how do I get started, right? But if you've kind of started now, maybe you're dabbling right now. So you've got your 9 to 5, and then you've got your coaching business, which you do online, right? So, it's where you put your posts out, and when someone talks to you on social media, you tell them about that aspect of yourself. But in reality, you haven't quite made it a business yet, okay? So it seems like the easiest thing in the world to just show up, okay, and to just share our stories and our knowledge. Someone needs to mute their microphone. Thank you. So it seems like the easiest thing to do to just show up and share our knowledge, okay? However, what tends to happen is we forget that coaching is also a business as well, right? We have to get the business in order. Now let's look at any typical brick and mortar business. Let's say we're going to make a bakery, okay? Simple, first thing that came to mind. What do we have to do? We have to find a space, right? We need to get money and save up money for a space to buy the actual shop front, right? We then need to find money to kit that place out. We then need to find money for staff, right? So that we've got someone that can actually stand in the shop front and greet people when they come in. Okay, then we need to buy all of this product up front so we can actually make the cakes. We then have to lay them nicely so that we make wastage there, because if we don't actually sell them, then we actually lose money. So I'm sharing this example with you because sometimes just to open up a shop, I'm not even sure how much it is, but we're talking close to 20K, right? Just as an investment to get started. And that's what you have to invest before you can get that business off the ground. But many people do not invest when it comes to their coaching, when they're starting their coaching business, or they think once I start, I will then invest. But then what happens? We start and we're doing this trial and error process, right? We're fudging, we're trying to make it work ourselves. We're bumping into all the pitfalls. We've gone from 2K down to a K. We're now selling our program for £100. And now what happens is we then think this isn't for me. This doesn't work. And we give up on our dream, and we give up on our calling, and we don't help the people that we have been called to serve. How heartbreaking is that? I know it breaks my heart every time I speak to someone who says that this was something that they wanted to do, but they just couldn't make it work. And that's why I'm a do what you love activist, because that's the mission that I am on in terms of helping people. And I just want to say, anyone that wants to just think about how they can get started, just a really simple and easy thing to do. If you visit jorelmitchell.com, and Rena, you can drop that link in the chat for me. If you visit there, it will give you access to my Facebook group. It will also give you access to some resources. And if you like the motivation or the stories I'm sharing, or you want to hear more from me, that's going to be a wonderful place for you to go in and begin to get some real understanding about how you can start moving your business using my CyberCelebrity branding method into a place where you're able to actually charge what you're worth, start getting clients in, start having those useful conversations, and really grow your business. And the beauty of it is because, coming back to what I was saying, and then I'm going to come over to Rena, is CyberCelebrity branding is unique because not only does it give you branding, but it gives you the firmer business model as well. And what also makes it wonderful is, I believe when it comes to a brand, there's no longer a business brand, there's no longer a personal brand. You need what I call the Hovis, the best of both. If we want to grow our business rapidly and make transformation, you need a brand which harnesses both the business and the personal brand and gives you the business model to make the transformation. And that's what CyberCelebrity branding does.
Excellent. So let's talk more about it, Jor'El. I just want to kind of take us a step back. A lot of coaches in our community, they're just starting out. Many actually don't really have a program yet. And they're still kind of in that phase where they're still exploring what is it that I'm actually standing for. And they have barely any experience coaching. So my question is, when is a good time to start working on your CyberCelebrity brand? And how do you transition into it, and when it will become actually relevant? Because you're saying, to me, it sounds like your ideal clients are somebody who already kind of have experience and have some sort of a package program, whatever. They just need a bit more help scoping it out and then positioning themselves. What about those people who maybe are still kind of 6 months behind that?
Absolutely wonderful. So just to be clear about this is for those that are just starting out and for those that want to advance, because what I'm trying to say is this is the new way to get your knowledge out into the world. Okay, so for those that are just starting out, what we do is the very first thing is we look at your story. Okay, I almost look at it like a book, and we want to go through your chapters of your book, everything. We have to go back into that mucky past, and we need to look at the fact of, first of all, honor that where you were and where you are now is like chalk and cheese, right? You've done some stuff to get to where you are right now compared to where you were back then. So then what we need to do, and for those of you that are trying to think about how do I get my program together, you then need to think, okay, you want to list all your life-changing moments, all your low points. These were the things that were happening to me when I was on a low. Okay, this is where I was. But I did something that enabled me to get out of that and move to more of a high. Because in between where you were and what you did to get there is what I call your life lessons. And these life lessons are the things that you are qualified. And I give you the qualification right now. You don't need to go and get a degree. You don't need to spend any additional money. You are qualified to teach. And the reason why I say you're qualified to teach, let's take a doctor. Yeah, one of probably the toughest and hardest professions. Okay, and they study for 7 years, theory and learning. A doctor with all the theory and learning cannot go and become and get their qualification until they go out into the real world and work with real life patients. Someone said 8 years, exactly, right? A lot of time. They can't get their real life qualifications. That's Dr. Jill. Thank you for that, Dr. Jill. So they can't get their qualification until they've actually worked with patients. And why is that? Because we understand that nothing beats life experience. Nothing beats the lived experience. How many times have you learned something theoretically and you maybe go to share it with someone and you kind of fudge it because you don't quite understand it. 9 times out of 10 it's because you've not lived it, right? So nothing beats life experience. So that's why I say you're qualified. If you work out what you did to get from your low to your high, and you think, okay, that's where the life lesson is, then you're qualified to teach. Now let's look at what that could potentially be. Maybe you had to say some affirmations to yourself every single day. You woke up in the mirror and you said some positive things to yourself. That's a life lesson. Maybe you had to work on your breathing, the way that you breathe. Maybe you're breathing too shallow and you now needed to work on how to breathe from your diaphragm. That's a life lesson. Okay, maybe you had to do some yoga, right? Maybe you developed that into like a morning routine. So you'd wake up in the morning, you'd say some positive affirmations to yourself, you'd practice your breathing, yeah, and then you'd go and do some form of exercise. Each one of these things are your life lessons. And these are the same things that if someone was going through what you were going through back then, and if they knew about it like you came to know about it, they would be able to implement it in their lives and be able to move to the place where you have now got to. Now, obviously, most people, some don't, but most people will, eventually find their way, right? But if there was someone that could have said to me when I had my injury, and they were able to help me to understand, instead of me having to be injured and then spend 15 years, 16 years to get to the point where I could actually start feeling like myself again, I would have bit their hand off to condense that time for me, right? Because that's what it was. It was like 16 years. I ended up from being this budding gymnast and this performer, then being stuck in a 9-to-5 job, which wasn't serving me as a person. That's 16 years. Now tell me, like, I'm asking you the question, if you came to me with some kind of process that would have helped me to understand, because part of my journey was I had to learn how to rehabilitate myself. I had to get confident again. I had to believe that I could do it. I had to know about positive affirmations. I had to go on this journey. So do you think if you put together that routine that you currently take for granted right now, those things that you do and you think, no one's going to pay me for this. No one's going to think of this as being useful. And they are things like I've been explaining. Do you think I wouldn't have bitten your hand off to condense 16 years into maybe 16 weeks? Well, I can answer that question for you. I would have. And this is what I mean for those of you that are getting started. What are those life lessons? What did you do? And it just takes you some time. Get yourself a pad, a bit of paper, nothing fancy, no landing pages. Forget about ClickFunnels and landing pages. We don't need no website. Leave the website alone, okay? What you need, if anything, is your Facebook profile, because that's where people are hanging out. I mean, how many conversations do you have in a day, and how many times does that conversation happen on Facebook, right? You comment on someone's post, they respond to your comment. Maybe you have like some direct messenger conversation. Not only that, you're connected to the entire globe. So all of these things that are being sold to us, through all the advertising, we need to strip that back. And we just need to get ourselves a piece of paper. Okay, I'll let you, if you want to be tech savvy, you can use your laptop or your iPad, and you want to just chart your life. This happened to me when I was 5. I witnessed mum and dad arguing. That had a profound effect on me. How did that make you feel? Okay, what feelings did you then take through with you? And then how, every time you heard someone's voice that was a little bit raised, the fear that gripped you. How do you show up in your workplace? Now you maybe show up timid, where you're not confident and you're not outspoken and speaking for yourself, because trauma has a way of affecting each and every single one of us in a different way. But now you're maybe at the stage where you are confident, where you said enough is enough, and where you are speaking out for yourself. So what did you do? Make a list of every single thing that you did, because that becomes your life's lessons. Now, once you have that list and you've charted your entire life in that way, I do what's called, and what we talk about in CyberCelebrity Branding, is the remix. Okay, we remix those things and we put them together in a very unique way. Okay, and we also look at your passions, your talents and your skills, because that's what makes you interesting. Yeah, and we do a nice little blend. You know, when you chuck all your vegetables into like the blender and then you press blend and it suddenly becomes this delicious smoothie. Well, we create this delicious smoothie and this becomes your playbook. And now that becomes your process. And we look at another question to ask yourself is, how quickly do you think you can get someone a transformation? You know, does your program need to be 8 weeks or does it need to be 16 weeks? Does it need to be a year? Now, one thing I will say, just as some parameters for you, 16 weeks, so anything from like 4 to 16 weeks is a good parameter for like a high ticket program. When you start moving past that to like 6 months or a year, then we're looking at a mastermind. And as a result, then the prices change. So like, you know, a program that's 16 weeks can be high ticket, maybe at around the 2K mark. And then something that's like a year, well, then you're going to be looking at something like a 10K investment. Okay, so this is just some parameters if you're looking to get started. And once you understand that, you package that up, and now that becomes your message, which you then just need to understand. How do you now start having meaningful conversations with people and then enroll them into your program?
Excellent. Thank you for sharing this. By the sound of it, the way you started on your own cyber celebrity journey was really to get started on Instagram and such. From my understanding, a lot of people, they actually, especially coaches, believe it or not, they really have an aversion to marketing and very uncomfortable even speaking publicly. And celebrity to me sounds like, oh my God, I'm going to be in the spotlight. And is this, what would you say to those people that probably right now are feeling like, I just wanted to help people around my block. I don't really want to save the world and be super famous. So what message do you have for them?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for that question. So let's look at that. So when I mean celebrity, I don't mean having your names in spotlights. I don't mean being on Oprah's Winfrey stage or anything like that. I mean, when you look up to somebody who's able to transform your life or to help you, you know, some people talk about being the go-to person in your industry or something like that. When you look up at somebody and they're able to help you condense the amount of time that it takes you to get from A to Z, it's almost like an honoring to that particular person. And so it's all about how far do you want to go? As I started off saying, as coaches, I believe one of the driving forces behind our mission is to help as much of our people that we've been called to serve. So as long as we're clear about your calling and we know who you are and who you're serving in the world, then that's where the cyber celebrity mechanism comes in, because it's not about, as I said, flashing lights and cameras and action. It's about just being meaningful and standing for someone's transformation within that group of people that you've been called to serve, and having the tools to be able to spread that as far and as wide as you want to. And also looking at the whole concept of, you know, people being afraid of marketing and stuff. I think the reason for that is because it's been made too complicated. Yeah, marketing in this day and age has been made too complicated. So we go from one extreme, people building websites that just sit there static and doesn't bring in any lead generation, don't bring in any clients. And then we've got the other extreme where we're looking at these crazy funnels, which have like 5 or 6 levels and 5 and 6 pages. And, you know, we got the click funnel thing going on and everyone's trying to build a landing page. The reality of it is all of that wonderful stuff is just overcomplicating a conversation. If you can create a situation where you bring someone into a conversation with you, maybe that might be in your messenger, maybe it's on a Zoom call, and you can have a serious conversation where you're looking at where they are now, where they want to go, and how you can help them to bridge that gap. That's all it needs to be. Okay, that's all marketing needs to be. It doesn't even need to be on a global scale. It's just understanding how to have one conversation, another conversation, and then another conversation.
I love the sound of it. This is something that I emphasize all the time. Audience first, content second. And nothing beats real conversation with people. That's where people actually make decisions. And that's where you establish long-term relationship with people. But you have mentioned before, websites don't get us clients, funnels get us clients, but probably for many people it's just too soon and too complicated, and they just don't have even the funds to actually hire someone to teach them how to do it, and many fail. And so tell me, how can your cybersecurity, not your, but generally cybersecurity branding help us actually acquire clients?
Wonderful. So the way that it helps you to acquire clients is it helps you to become a powerful communicator. Okay, so first of all, we're packaging our story and we're packaging our calling. And then we put simple strategies in place. I can share one of those strategies with you right now. So very much so, let's say you see someone, or you're going around on social media, or you've put a post out, or someone has communicated on that post or shown an interest in what you are doing. Then the next stage is to have a conversation with them in Messenger and to find out how things are going and who they are. The key to this, guys, and we talk about it, some of you may know it as organic marketing, yeah? And some people say, oh, organic marketing doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. And, but then what's the other extreme? Is paid advertising, where you need to at least have 2K in order to start bringing in clients every single month. The problem that people have with organic marketing is that when they step into conversations, they forget to be human first. They forget to have a conversation. So they come bulldozing in like a bull in a china shop, selling their wares and telling them what I can do for you and all of this kind of stuff. Excuse me, I didn't tell you that I wanted anything, right? But if you have a great conversation with someone, you find out about their day, you talk to them about what you're doing. Don't just ask question after question. Share a little bit about yourself. Let them know who you are. Don't expect them to be vulnerable when you're not willing to be vulnerable, right? So have a conversation like you would if you met one of your friends by chance in the street, right? And then it comes to the point where you've had a great exchange. You've talked about, the weather. You've talked about their grandchildren, you've talked about what their goals are in life, etc. You've had a meaningful engagement. You've maybe added some value. I was speaking to someone the other day and they were telling me how they were finding it so difficult to make the transition from the 9-to-5 world into the online space. They were a female who was working in a high-powered job, and they were in a position where they had to almost compromise themselves and make themselves feel small in their workplace because they were scared that men would constantly keep hitting on them in their job. And all they wanted to do was just to be effective in the workplace. And so what they were finding was, as they were coming online, they were bringing some of those very, closed, rigid traits. And they felt, which I shifted that to say to them, actually, it's about having clear boundaries, which you need to have online. But they felt that in the moment, they weren't allowing themselves to be authentic, and they weren't allowing themselves to be open and true. And so I shared a little bit of value with them. And I said to them, look, it's okay for you to be coming out of the box slowly. Don't think just because you stepped online, you have to be that finished article straight away. Give yourself the opportunity to come out of the bottle, because she said she felt trapped in a bottle. Come out of the bottle nice and slowly. And I now gave the analogy, it's like driving a car. When you're driving a car, when you step into that car for the first time, you will be hard pushed to even have a conversation with the driving instructor next to you when you're thinking about all the things that you have to do, the changing of the gear sticks, the controlling of the wheel, the checking all the mirrors, right? But after each one becomes more second nature, then soon you're now able to have a full-blown conversation. You can almost have a karaoke session singing your favorite songs. And if you're really nifty, you can paint your nails while doing it. Now, I don't recommend that for anyone that's listening to me and taking advice. Don't write that one down. But what I'm trying to say is, sometimes starting out, there's so much things to think about, right? But if you just allow yourself to just take your time and know that soon everything's going to become a bit more second nature, then after a while, your personality will shine through. Now, why did I share that? Because that was me having a conversation with someone, right? And that was me giving a little bit of meaningful advice. Yeah, it wasn't about my program. It wasn't about this, that, and the other. It was just being genuine and being there for that person. And then from there, we were having conversations. She shared what she was working on, etc. And then this is the beauty. So this is one that you think about. I offered her like I said, can I make a recommendation? And I offered her a 15-minute call. And on that 15-minute call, again, it was just for us to get to know each other a little bit more. And I wasn't going to sell her anything on that call. And that's how I offered it to her in the chat. And she came on and we had a conversation, right? And in that, again, we just had a conversation. And then from there, we then established whether or not she wanted to go on and have a sales conversation, which is a 45-minute call where I can talk her through the process. So this is how you can just, by being yourself, being open and approachable, have a conversation with someone, which will naturally lead onto a sell situation. Okay, and this is what cyber celebrity branding teaches you to do. It teaches you to be a great communicator. It teaches you to be present in the moment, and it teaches you to listen. This came to me the other day because I'm always thinking about things and liking to share. As coaches, we really do not need to have all the answers, okay? Because I believe you got the conscious brain, and then you've got the higher conscious brain. The higher conscious brain knows everything that we need. It understands what our calling is. It knows where we need to be in life, okay? Now, oftentimes we consume things using our conscious brain first. So we process something once we see a cup, we pick it up. That's our conscious thinking. What I believe is that our higher conscious will reveal, so as someone's speaking to you, their higher conscious is going to reveal what it is that they need in the answers they give to your amazing questions. So what we then need to do is just look at those answers and to hear what they're saying, and then we need to feed it back to them so they can register it in their conscious mind. Because once they receive that in the conscious mind, we then get the mirroring between the high conscious and the conscious mind, and bingo, we have liftoff. That's when transformation begins to happen. I love it. Yes, the answer is in the question. Thank you very much, Andrew. So that's what I'm trying to say. Just being present. That's all you need to do. And let's not get it overly complicated. And just be willing to have really nice, genuine conversations with people where your intention is literally to listen to what they've got to say, get to know them on a level, and then to see whether or not they are someone that you need to now offer your service or not. And the reason why I always say 15 minutes, just lastly before I finish this point, is because if you're bringing people onto sales calls, right, and they're 45 minutes long or 90 minutes long, which is typically what it is, and then you find out after 90 minutes that they are not willing or ready to buy, you've wasted 90 minutes, right? But if you bring someone onto a 15-minute impartial conversation and you can look at what's going on in that 15 minutes, well, I mean, if you don't have time to spend 15 minutes with someone, then there's something wrong. Right, you need to reevaluate your values and reevaluate your life if you don't think you can genuinely just have a conversation with someone for 15 minutes.
Excellent. I love the sound of it. Definitely, this is something that I've experienced as well, and really going back to the basics. And a lot of people think that they want to actually scale fast and they want to achieve great heights really, really fast. But I think slow does it, easy does it, no? And you really build proper foundations, and you build a following, you build your confidence, you develop your programs, you fine-tune your ability and skills, and you evolve. The more you talk to people, you evolve when you get new ideas and such. Perhaps the only thing I would add there, even if you invest 90 minutes, they're not wasted. If you play the long-term game, people might come back to you in 1 month, 3 months, 9 months. They will never forget your kindness, that you actually were willing to invest 90 minutes. And maybe right now is not the time, but they'll circle back and come back. And eventually, probably in a year or two, when you're really confident and you have your program and you're a cyber celebrity and really a celebrity, maybe then for you scale with funnels and websites and such probably could be the next step. But yeah, I want
to mention one thing there, because that's really right. If you've done 90 minutes with someone, it's not wasted. But one of the things that I want to do, because I usually see with coaches, we flip on the other side. So we're spending all of this time. And what I'm trying to get people to think about is the business element of it. Because remember, it's a balance. It's between business and creativity. So the reason why I say do the 15 minutes is because you've got to think of it from a business perspective as well. And once you get that blend right, that's how you can actually start making this a full-time pursuit. Because at the same time, you do the 90 minutes, but it's very deflating when you spend all of that time and then nothing comes or transpires of it, or it feels that way, you know? So this is how you get that balance, and it makes sure that you've got the longevity to stay in the game, to be able to make the transformation that you really want to make.
Perhaps just, I know it's already time, but perhaps to just wrap it up, one more question. Would it require a lot of time to actually develop a cyber celebrity branding? How long are your programs? Historically, what have you seen in the past? Does it require much effort and time? What's the process like?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think you guys will understand from hearing me speak that I'm the kind of guy that likes to remove the BS, right? Let's just get it real, and I like to call it as I call it. So with regards to my program, and one of the things that I've observed is people join training programs and then they get lost in all of this stuff. So they've got this weekly call that they need to turn up to every week, or they've got all of these videos that they've got to watch. Then the videos create more questions than it does answers. And then they turn up to the weekly call, then they don't get their questions answered on the weekly call because somebody else is dominating the chat. And then this vicious cycle happens where you have a program that was meant to move you forward, and then all of a sudden you're at a standstill, but worse off, you're so confused about what you should be doing right now that you need to take a good couple of months off. So knowing that and having been the victim of that myself, when I created my program, I looked at doing it in a very different way. My whole thing is focusing in on what that 80-20 we like to talk or preach about in the coaching world. What is that 80-20? What can you do, the little bit that you can do to get the massive result? And one of my strongest points, okay, that I have two things that are my strongest points. Either I'm going to help you to transition out of your 9-to-5 into your passion-driven business full-time, rapidly, or I'm going to help you to get to your next financial goal. So what that looks like is I have like a kickoff call I do with everyone. And within that kickoff call, we literally create the entire program. Okay, so by the time you finish that 90 minutes on that kickoff call, you have your program, we've unpacked your life story, and you know exactly what it is that you're going to share with the world. We then have another week where we begin to fine tune those skills of having great communication with everyone. And then by week 3, you're out there validating your offer. What do I mean by that is you're out there selling your offer, and I'm working with you to ensure you can get people enrolled onto your programs. Now, how do I work? You have something that's called Jor'El in your pocket. Now, what does that mean? It literally means, someone said to me the other day, oh, I had great fun listening to you. Could I carry you around in my pocket? And I said, of course you can. Because what it means is as soon as you get stuck, we're not waiting for a weekly call. You're sending me a message, and I'm going to give you the answer to what your brain is trying to process at that present moment in time. Because the weekly call, we've missed that opportunity. Okay, so that's one element. The next element that we do is I look at messenger conversations, because I see so many people I'm sure you don't know a lot of stuff, but when it comes to applying it, it's a whole different ball game. So how is a coach? Let's think about this, because sometimes people get attracted to the gurus, the Tony Robbins and the Dean Graciosis and all of these people, and they are amazing. Don't get me wrong, they are amazing people, okay? But they are all the way up here, and they've got teams and people and everything that's dealing with you down here. So when you're on their programs, you're not dealing with Dean or you're not dealing with Tony, you're dealing with their coaches. And yes, I'm sure they're great. But again, when you're running such a huge organization, you have to put things in place in order for you to filter out the millions of people that are coming through. So as a result, they may be giving you great information, but then when you go to apply it, or when you go to do a post, or when you go to do a message, inside that conversation, you're not applying it right. So I will look at your messenger chats. I will look at your sales calls. I will look at what's happening in between. And what we want to do is get a smooth cycle. So if you're not getting anyone onto your sales calls, then there's something going wrong at the higher part of the chain. We need to iron that out. Once you can move people through that part, then if you've got the block here, we iron that out. And so what we do is we work over the 16 weeks of smoothing out that process. And once we smooth out that process, it now means that not only have you validated your offer, by that I mean you now know that you can charge what you are worth, but you also have a system which you will always be able to use for whatever business you go on to create from there. Because I'm someone that believes if I teach you how to fish, you will eat for life. However, if I just give you the fish and give you just the online course, then you may eat for a day. And I want anyone, whatever you go on to do from that point, why cyber celebrity branding is not just a now thing, it becomes a skill and a tool that you can constantly use to launch any business or affect any change you want in the world. So that's ultimately what the process looks like. And I'm a fun person to be around, so we have some fun along the way as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. Does anybody have questions?
Please, let's have some juicy questions. I wasn't able to monitor the chat, but I can see people dropping questions there. So yes, please. And don't forget, if you're thinking, how do I get started? Jor'ElMitchell.com. I think that it should be in the message. Just click there. You'll get to my Facebook group. I'm actually going live this evening at 6 o'clock, where I'm going to be talking about how you can create a program you can sell from 2 to 15K for in less than an hour. So if you know that that's what you need right now, then Jor'ElMitchell.com, and Rena's dropped the link so we can make that happen. But please, questions.
Anybody, any questions before we wrap up? This was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your process. And again, I'm not